What's going on, everybody? It is Monday afternoon. Welcome back into another edition of Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media Channel. Good to see everybody here today. I'm going to get into a little bit of the headlines. Not a super long show today because I do have some plans after the show. So probably try to get an hour in here, and then we'll close this up at about 6 o'clock tonight. So welcome in, everybody. I know everybody will kind of fill in the chat as we go. Good to see some channel moderators here. Nice to see some Go Squad members here. I got some updates about the studio. So we got a lot of stuff we're going to get into. We're going to talk about Karen Reed. We're going to talk about Nicholas Alaverdian, Nicholas Rossi, a.k.a. Arthur Knight. And we'll get an update on Chris Ducky Anderson, some things that happened over this weekend. So again, kind of a variety show here today. Nice to see everybody in here. And we'll talk about some of the standouts and events that'll happen this weekend, kind of surrounding the Karen Reed case. So let's not waste too much time. I do want to get into this, and we're going to pull this up here. We'll talk Karen Reed at first to kick off the show. So as you know, the other day, Brian Tully has been removed as commander from the Norfolk DA's office. The state police is reporting, and it's shuffle time. It is shuffle time now, and I've said this before. Knowing how bad and how disgusting and how awful all of the things that Proctor did in this case, said all those awful things about Karen Reed. I felt like, and I think many of you all felt like this too, is that he was going to be the guy to fall on the sword. Let's throw him out there, take one for the team, and then we hide the other two guys that are involved in this because we're going to need them. We're going to need them if this goes back to a retrial. So you see all of the protocol and moving around Proctor, possible firing. You have now they're moving around Tully. They're essentially going to hide him probably until the trial if we go back to a retrial. And you have Buchanan that's being investigated as well. And I guarantee you, same thing's going to happen to him. They're going to hide him out somewhere until this possible retrial. That's my feeling. That's my feeling on this. You may agree, you may not agree, but I think that's what's going to happen because they're going to need, the prosecution going to need these two guys. We're going to need them to get in there and tell it like it is and the way that it went and to continue the lies and the cover up. But let's get into this article here. This is from Boston.com. Says state police remove unit commander Brian Tully from Norfolk DA's office. Tully was transferred to a temporary position in the Division of Investigation Services and will continue to assist the DA on his cases. Of course he will. So October 20th, the Massachusetts State Police detective involved in the Karen Reed murder trial and Sandra Birchmore's case has been transferred from the position of Norfolk County District Attorney's Office just weeks following the new state police leadership. Detective Lieutenant Brian Tully will no longer serve as a unit commander of the State Police Detective Unit assigned with the Norfolk County DA's office, Michael Morrissey's office, State Police said in a statement. State Police transferred Tully to a temporary position. That means they're going to hide him away. We don't need you to fuck up anymore. Let's get you away. Let's hide you. Let's hide you because we're going to need you now for the trial. Because I said this, they're just going to keep pushing this, pushing. This is just to drain the resources, to beat Karen Reed down to submit, but that's not going to happen. She's going to continue to fight. It's not going to happen. So we go on. State police transferred Tully to a temporary position in the Division of Investigative Services and will continue to assist the DA in previous cases. The Internal Affairs investigation into Tully is ongoing, state police said. Tully is one of the 3 troopers who faced scrutiny after testifying during Reed's trial in the summer. State Trooper Michael Proctor, role as lead investigator, is widely publicized when he took the stand and was made to read vulgar text messages that he sent about Reed during the investigation. Proctor was relieved of his duties while Yuri Bukaki is still being investigated. Tully's transfer comes as Colonel Jeffrey Noble's first major public overhaul of the state police since he appointed to being the lead agency by Governor Maura Healey, sworn in earlier this month. Why not fired? Fire him. If you want to make a statement here And you said, Noble, when you got up, that when you took over, you were going to basically have transparency. You were going to lead this division. You were going to clean things up. You know there's corruption in this whole group of troopers that are involved in this Karen Reed case. Fire them. Can't do that. We need them. Let's just stash them away. You can see that the game is being played here. You can see the game is being played here. It is going to continue in the state of Massachusetts. Things are not going to get cleaned up here. I'm telling you. All right, we read on. Quote, Colonel Noble has conducted an internal review and believes this decision is the best interest of the department's public safety mission. The department statement said about Tully's transfer. The state police unit in the Norfolk DAs has faced criticism for handling of the Birchmore's case. Former Stoughton detective Matthew Farwell was indicted this year on federal charges that he killed Sandra Birchmore, 23, after allegedly grooming and sexually abusing her, beginning with when she was 15 years old. State officials initially ruled her 2021 death a suicide, while the state police detective interviewed and investigated Farwell, who was not charged by any local authorities. The state police posted a vacancy for Tully's former position, which involves overseeing 20 state troopers. That's scary that guy is in charge of 20 state troopers. The DA did not return a request for comment Sunday evening. So again, stash them away, hide them away. Let's just get to the trial. We need them. Those are the two guys they need now, because Proctor's not going to get called by the prosecution. Defense is going to call him, certainly. But the prosecution's not going to use Proctor as, their lead detective and their witness in this case. It's going to be Tully and Buchanan if we can keep them clean and say, oh, well, we investigated, but we're just going to transfer them out of their divisions. They're not going to lead anybody. They'll probably sit somewhere at a desk job and wait their turn to get up and lie on the stand about everything in the Karen Reed case that they were involved with. All right, let me pull up this here, another article that came out this morning. Actually, this afternoon, I tweeted about it, and it's looking like Judge Beverly Canone will preside over Karen Reed's second trial, court says. The trial is scheduled for January 27th. So, Dedham, Mass, Judge Beverly Canone will return to the bench for Karen Reed's second trial early next year, the court confirmed on Monday. Reed, 44, of Mansfield, is accused of hitting her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, with her SUV outside Canton home on January 29, 2022, and leaving him to die in a snowstorm following a night of drinking. Cano oversaw Reed's first trial and declared a mistrial in July when the jury was deadlocked. She also rejected the defense request to have some of the charges dropped, a decision that Reed is now appealing with the SJC. Cano will also be one to rule on recent requests for Special Assistant District Attorney Hank Brennan, and you can see it. It's already being weaved into the fabric, the play here. It was appointed to the lead case by the Norfolk District Attorney, Michael Morrissey, last month. Brennan, Mr. Mob Ties, asked the court to authorize the prosecution to resemble and retest the electronics from Reed's SUV in pursuit of more evidence before her second trial, and asked the judge to issue a court order for cell phone records related to William Reed, the defendant's father, and the records of 2023 local media interview Reed's family did about the case. Reed's first trial came the end of July 1st, when the jury of 6 women and 6 men said repeatedly that they were hopelessly deadlocked, and Cano declared a mistrial. Prosecutors suffered several notable setbacks during the presentation of the case, including surveillance video from a police garage that appeared to be inverted. No, it was inverted. I mean, it's clearly inverted. And embarrassing revelations about, quote, very regrettable messages that Massachusetts state trooper assigned to the case, Michael Proctor. The trooper was later suspended and had others face internal investigations. If the case stays on schedule, Reed's second trial is to begin in Norfolk Superior Court on January 27th. And what I would urge you all to do, of course, to get the truth in this matter, and I haven't had an opportunity to read through it yet. But Turtle Boy just posted an article up on his website, TB Daily News, and you will get the truth here. And he says Beverly Canone will not follow protocol and rotate out as judge in Norfolk County. And it's a very extensive article. And what I'll do for all of you is I'll drop the link there if you want to read through that. And again, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. The game will be continued to be played here in Norfolk County. You know, put Proctor out there, have him fall on the sword. Let's hide these two other troopers off to the side, put them on desk jobs, keep their noses clean until trial, because they're going to need them. We're going to need them. You know, that's the game that they're playing right now. But again, when I have time tonight to read through this, I definitely will read through it. It's a lengthy article, but well worth the read, of course. It's the truth. It's the truth. All right. Let's get into a little bit of Nicholas Rossi. A little update here. Nicholas Rossi, Alaverdian, Arthur Knight went into court the other day and actually admitted to who he is now, his true identity. And if you're not familiar with this case, this is a case essentially that started, let's see, in Utah. And then he had ties to Providence. He was working with a lot of out of the Rhode Island State House at a very young age. And essentially, when these rape charges came forward, he skipped town, went over to Scotland, hid his identity, and said that he is Arthur Knight. But during a COVID visit over in Scotland, when he was actually, I think, in a coma because of COVID, they cross-referenced his tattoos, got his identity, and wanted to extradite him back to the States to face these charges. But he kept claiming that he was not this person, that his real name was Arthur Knight and not Nicholas Rossi, a.k.a. Alaverdian. So it says Rossi claims life in danger during court hearing, ordered to remain behind bars. In Provo, Utah, a former fugitive, Nicholas Rossi, claimed that his life was in danger during an evidentiary hearing on Wednesday, in which he was ordered to remain in jail ahead of a rape trial. In the ruling, 4th District Judge Derek Poland cited several examples of alleged misinformation previously shared by Rossi, including a fake death, to show that he's highly probable that he would attempt to flee the country if released from jail. Since being incarcerated at the Utah jail, Rossi has been able to pay the bond of $350,000. Rossi is accused of originally fleeing the U.S. after being identified as a suspect in a 2008 rape case in Orem. He is eventually extradited from Scotland in January, despite years of claiming that he's not Nicholas Rossi. Instead, he's a man known as Arthur Knight. And I urge you to look up my lives about this guy. Ridiculous, preposterous, faking his identity. It's almost comical. It's like something out of a comic book that this guy manufactured. So it says earlier this year, Rossi's whose legal name is Nicholas Alaverdian, said he's an Irish orphan that he had been framed by authorities who took his fingerprints while he was in a coma so they could connect him to Rossi. While speaking with a raspy voice under the oath Wednesday inside the Provo courtroom, Rossi attempted to explain why he had been changed his name numerous times, including a change to Arthur Knight while living in Scotland. The surname Knight comes from Rossi's wife, Miranda Knight. According to Rossi, he was forced to make the change while overseas due to him receiving that he called credible threats against his life and those of his family. He said that he treats the threats stem from his previous work in child services, but originally refused to answer who he's making the alleged threats. All right, I'm not going to read this complete article. I will drop the link of it if you want to keep reading through it, but I want to get to this from Lauren Crime Network. They did a little 17-minute kind of collection here of the latest on Rossi, and this will blow your mind. Watch this watch this alternate identity. And I don't mean to laugh, because it's a very sensitive subject of the serious charges against this guy, but it's almost it's ridiculous. It's like something, it reminds me something out of like a Marvel movie or something. All right,
That is complete hearsay.
A man accused of faking his own death and fleeing across the pond to Europe to avoid rape charges makes a stunning admission in court for the very first time since his legal saga began.
And today, Mr. Rossi does not.
2W, thank you so much for the 5. Says Ken Mello is going to be on the witness stand like Nicholas Rossi, wheelchair and oxygen tank. Wouldn't that be something, huh? Wouldn't that be something to see that, right? All right, let's keep playing through here.
That Arthur Knight and Nicholas Rossi are in fact the same individual.
Nicholas Rossi's case made international headlines after the former fugitive fled the U.S. to Scotland, where he adopted a new accent and a new look. But what he was running from were serious allegations, a pair of rape charges stemming from years earlier in 2008. He's charged with raping his former girlfriend after an argument in Salt Lake County, Utah in 2008. And he's charged with raping a 21-year-old woman in Orem, Utah the same year. But his identity in that case didn't become clear until 2017 due to a backlog of untested rape kits. According to investigators, that same year, Rossi left the U.S. for Ireland first, using the name Nicholas Brown and using an Irish driver's license, but police say it was a fake ID using a stolen document. In 2021, the then fugitive was arrested in Scotland after being recognized at a Glasgow hospital during treatment for COVID. But Rossi, who at that point was going by Arthur Knight Brown, fought extradition back to the States for 3 years, claiming it was a case of mistaken identity and that he wasn't even Nicholas Rossi. Then in August of 2023, a judge in the United Kingdom ruled Rossi can be extradited to the States and dismissed the mistaken identity claims as plausible and fanciful. In January, he was extradited back to Utah, and during a hearing after his return to the U.S., he still claimed to be an orphan named Arthur Knight Brown.
Are you Mr. Rossi?
No, lady.
Are you Mr.
Real quick, I had one of the state representatives on my show, almost a year ago. His name is Brian Coogan, and he actually was really good friends with Nicholas Rossi when Rossi was serving in the State House in Providence, and gave a fantastic interview kind of on the life and times of Nicholas Rossi and all the lies and, you know, the things that he did to manipulate people. And one of the most craziest things that I heard is that Brian Coogan said that Rossi used to keep literally files on everybody inside his phone. They were labeled. They would be like Brian Coogan, right? And anything that Brian Coogan said or anything that Brian Coogan did that Rossi could use against him in some way to manipulate a situation, he would keep a file in there of any text message, video. He would record phone conversations and play things back. It's insane, the amount of manipulation that this guy did.
Mr. Rossi?
You
might have to take that off just to talk so she
No,
can hear
lady.
Is that a yes? I'm having a hard time.
The mask.
My name is Arthur Knight Brown.
I think I'm going to have the jail restate what he said.
Looks like
having
something
a really hard
Batman
time
movie.
hearing him.
What is it?
My name is Arthur Knight Brown.
He says his name is Arthur Knight Brown.
Arthur Knight Brown.
I can't hear. You want to have him state his name and date of birth?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
we can't hear him at all. Can you ask him, can you please state your name and date of birth?
Here, get a little closer.
Lady, my name is Arthur Knight Brown. My date of birth is 22nd of the 11th, 1986.
She's like,
Okay,
no.
I think we're having a problem with understanding who this person is.
This is not number 36.
Your Honor, we've got him as Nicholas Rossi, but he's saying his name is Arthur Knight Brown.
Oh, that's one of the AKAs.
Yeah, Judge ain't
This
having it right
individual
now.
has been extradited, and he has not admitted his name or birth date accurately, and so I don't think we're going to be successful on that today either. It's also known as.
Objection, my lady. That is complete hearsay, and I would ask your ladyship that the prosecution show cause for why they proceeded
So,
to allow
Mr. Knight, Mr. Knight, I'm going
whilst I had an appeal pending in the Supreme Court.
Months later, during a hearing in August, Rossi appeared in court for a preliminary hearing ahead of his rape trial. But the judge during that hearing addressed Rossi as his alias, Arthur Knight.
All right, welcome everybody. We have our attorneys here. Mr. Knight is here. Good afternoon, Mr. Knight. Counsel, you ready to proceed? The state is ready, Your Honor.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
But during his latest hearing this week, Rossi made a shocking admission and confirmed he is in fact Nicholas Rossi and that he and the alias Arthur Knight Brown are the same person. The stunning reveal came after Rossi admitted to changing his name because of alleged threats made against his life. Before fleeing to Europe, Rossi initially lived in Utah and eventually moved to Rhode Island, making a name for himself as a vocal critic of the state's Department of Children, Youth, and Families. While on the stand in Utah this week, he dropped the accent and claimed the threats on his life were related to his work to reform the foster care system.
The steps necessary to ensure that I was kept safe and later on to keep my family safe.
According to reports, the judge temporarily closed the courtroom so Rossi could identify the source of the threats. The defense argued for Rossi to be released on bail, but the judge denied the defense's request, citing the obvious: Rossi is a flight risk.
The thrust of the state's argument is that there is clear and convincing evidence that Mr. Rossi is likely to flee the jurisdiction of the court if the individual is released on bail. Having carefully considered the evidence presented, the court finds that the state has shown clear and convincing evidence that that is true. The disputed facts surrounding Mr. Rossi's departure from the United States and his return under extradition demonstrate that his likelihood to flee the jurisdiction of the court if released on bail is
Auntie,
very
thank you for becoming a new
highly
member.
probable.
Thank you so much.
The court reaches that conclusion based on the following facts. At a time when the Alaverdi Foundation was under investigation for fraud, Nicholas Rossi departed the United States. He had a conversation with an FBI agent in which he indicated that he chose the country of his destination because Ireland would not extradite him. The FBI agent confirmed the departure of Mr. Rossi on an American Airlines flight in 2017. He left using a U.S. passport and disembarked in Dublin. The testimony is that on January 9th, Mr. Rossi was granted a sex offender reduction by the state of Rhode Island. The very next day, it was announced on the Alaverdi Foundation website that Mr. Rossi had cancer. Later in February, an obituary was posted for Mr. Nicholas Rossi, again in February of 2020, indicating that Mr. Rossi had died and had been cremated and buried at sea with only his wife and children as witnesses. 7 days before the obituary was posted, Mr. Rossi or someone posted on his social media account that he had married Miranda Knight. In fact, Mr. Rossi had not died. He continued to conduct his affairs in Europe. Mr. Rossi denied emphatically being Nicholas Rossi and claimed that he was Arthur Knight. Ultimately, that extradition process resulted in him being returned to the state of Utah, returned to the United States, and then to the state of Utah, where it was confirmed and this is in the preliminary hearing transcript, it was confirmed that the DNA swab from the defendant was for Nicholas Rossi, and that DNA match is confirmed. And today,
they got
Mr.
DNA
Rossi
on the guy.
does not deny that Arthur Knight and Nicholas Rossi are in fact the same individual. It is true that Mr. Rossi currently faces health circumstances that may make his flight from the United States more difficult, but I'm not persuaded that it would prevent that from happening, that those conditions would prevent that from happening. He has his wife in the UK that is providing him money on a periodic basis. That money can assist him in his potential flight. He has no ties to the state of Utah of any kind. He's facing a rape charge in Salt Lake County. These are strong incentives to flee the jurisdiction, and he has demonstrated his ability to do that in the past. For all of these reasons, the court finds that the state has met its burden of proof. I will order that Mr. Rossi be held without bail.
Now, with Rossi
Held
forced to
without
remain
bail.
behind bars until trial, it doesn't appear he'll have a chance of returning to Europe anytime soon. Let's bring on now criminal defense attorney Kesia
Let's hear a
Early
little
to
bit
get
about this
her
guy's
take on
background.
what went down in court. Now, Kesia, thank you so much for joining me today. At this point, I never thought Nicholas Rossi would ever come clean and reveal his true identity, but he did so in court. Were you surprised at all by his admission?
Not quite, because eventually he had to give his true identity because everyone else knew who he was. I just think that he had good legal counsel. I believe that his attorney really just had a conversation with him and told him, listen, either you give up your true identity or we're not going to have a fighting chance for you to get pretrial release. So it was clear, it was obvious. So they came up with this elaborate story. But we already knew who he was. It was just a matter of time.
She has money.
And did you buy Rossi's claims at all that he was threatened, which is what kind of made him go into these different aliases and monikers? Do you buy that claim?
Absolutely not. First of all, if he was threatened, if he was afraid of his life, the first thing you do is to reach out to law enforcement. You don't create an alias. You don't fight extradition for 3 years, I believe. You don't do everything to elude law enforcement and prosecution.
Right.
And he did everything opposite for a person who is in fear, for a person whose life is in danger. So not only did that not coincide with his story, it made no sense whatsoever. So I know that it's not believable, and I'm pretty sure the judge saw right through his lies, which is why his bond bail was denied.
And this case has pretty much been ongoing from 2008 when the offenses occurred to now 2024, with the added layers of the rape suspect fleeing to another country and living under these aliases. Have you ever seen a case like this at all before?
Well, not with the similar facts and patterns, but typically once time goes by, it usually makes it harder for the prosecution to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. But in this instance, evidence of flight is typically evidence of guilt. So he fled the country, he fought extradition, he didn't want to come back to be prosecuted, but it's the time that it took to test the DNA. Back then, I believe the DNA crime labs were backlogged, so it took them several years from the date of the incident, I believe in 2008, up until 2017 to not only test the DNA, but come up with an exact match. So you have hardcore DNA evidence that links him to the crimes, and then you have him fleeing the country, and then you have this bogus story that I'm pretty sure the jury will see right through. But we oftentimes see these cases where time goes by, and sometimes the victims in a case, they don't want to open up those old wounds. So they may not be willing to come forward. But there's 2 victims in this case. So hopefully one will come forward. One will be strong enough to say, he did this to me. And the prosecution will be able to secure a conviction.
And can the prosecution also use this 404B evidence or bad acts evidence against him during trial, as far as, him fleeing to another country and him using these different aliases? Can that be admitted during this rape case?
It absolutely can be, but it's the job of the defense attorney to file the appropriate motions to argue against that evidence coming in, or if not all of the evidence, some of the evidence not coming in. Our job is to keep the state at its burden, to make sure
Yeah,
they're
that'd be
proving their
crazy.
case, but to also make sure they're following the law. So is the prejudicial value greatly exceeds the.
I remember in one of the interviews, they didn't show obviously the girl's face, but one of the girls in Utah, and I'll have to find the interview. Maybe I can go back to it when we get closer to the trial. But she said she was ready to come forth and put this guy behind bars where he belongs. There's a lot of people that want to speak out about this guy.
Probative value. And if it does, then the judge may not let this evidence in. But I do believe not only is his flight evidence coming in, his multiple stories are coming in, and he may not have a choice but to testify. But in this case, DNA evidence speaks louder than his testimony. So this looks like an inevitable conviction.
Now, you're a criminal defense attorney, and say you are Nicholas Rossi's attorney. What type of defenses are you going to be using during this during these two separate rape
This is
trials? Because here
interesting.
you have one of the victims was Rossi's former girlfriend, and the other went to police, did a rape kit that came back positive, and that DNA matched Nicholas Rossi. What are you going to do if you're his defense attorney?
Take a
I
play.
think his easiest case is the ex-girlfriend or the previous girlfriend, because his defense would be it was consensual. She was just mad at me. She screamed rape. And especially if all you have is his DNA, you don't have any struggle marks, attacks, nails, anything to show that there was a fight, then it's going to be hard to show that, you know what, this was a rape. Now, for the second alleged victim in this case, if this was no connection whatsoever, an absolute stranger, and she can show, in addition to the DNA, that she fought for her life or that where it occurred, if there's additional evidence to corroborate her statement, it's going to be easier for the state to secure conviction.
Right.
So it's really about the evidence, attacking the evidence, also attacking the credibility of the alleged victims. Not every victim is a victim. I try a lot of cases, whether it's sexual assault, battery, where boyfriend, girlfriend, or female will utilize the law as a sword as opposed to a
COVID.
shield of protection. So you want to attack
And
their.
that's when he changed his identity. When he slipped over to the UK and then into Scotland, he got COVID, slipped into a coma because of COVID, and that's how they caught him, because they essentially had a I don't think they took his DNA then. I think he was noticed by someone that he was a fugitive of the law. And then that's when they started cross-referencing all his tattoos over in Scotland. They're like, wait a minute. This is a guy that we're looking for. Auntie, thank you for the 5. She says, hi, Brian. Thank you for your time and work you do. You're amazing. # free Karen Reed. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, let's finish this up, and then I'm going to do
credibility when they're on a
feel-good
stand,
story.
cross-examination, and hopefully the jury may either end with it being a not guilty verdict or at best a hung jury.
And given these two separate cases, these two separate rape cases, do you think it's a clear-cut case in either instance for the prosecution here?
I never say any case is a clear cut. There's been times that I tried a murder trial that was caught on surveillance. To the prosecution, it could have looked like a clear cut case. He clearly pulled the trigger. But the law provides justification. And I'm not saying he was justified in his acts. No case is ever that clear. No case is ever a slam dunk. You really have to have two zealous advocates, one for the state and one for the defendant, really upholding the law, fighting for the law, making sure evidence that should not come in stays out, and the evidence that needs to be exposed comes in.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see kind of how this all will play out in the future with these upcoming preliminary hearings and then the eventual trial if that does come to fruition. Casey, I want to thank you so much for your time today. But before I sign you off, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, he needs to take and heed advice of counsel. Oftentimes, defendants, they think they know everything. They think they know their case better than us. But we went to law school. We were trained in the rules of procedure. We were trained in advocacy. We were trained to uphold the rule of law. So if he does not take any advice, take the advice of counsel.
All right, we're going to bounce out of that one. And again, I did a live, oh gosh, almost close to a year ago with Brian Coogan. And it's a really great informative live. and Brian's a character, and it was such a great person to interview. We did almost 2.5 hours on the channel, but you can go back and watch that live. That was back 8 months ago on February 18th, 2024. And I'll drop the link in the chat to that interview if you want to watch it. It's definitely worth watching. And he just tells it straight, all about Nick and his life in Providence. And it's just a very interesting story. All right, let's get to a little bit of, I guess, something that, was terrible. I'm still going to keep my eyes on this, but I guess a little bit of a feel-good story, the way that this turned out this past weekend. For one, Chris Ducky Anderson in Danvers, he was attacked last week. I guess he's been having some issues with a bunch of kids, and it's been an ongoing issue that's gone on for a couple years. They had some issues with kids that are essentially terrorizing the town, not only other kids but mothers and families. And Chris is a beloved person in his community. He has special needs, and essentially, from what I understand, he was lured out into the woods by these kids, and one of them attacked him pretty bad. So I just want to read through this, and we have a little bit of justice in this case, but I want to thank everybody that came together this past Saturday and rallied around Chris. And I think it was really nice for the community to stick up for him. Once I heard about this story, it really pulled at my heartstrings because, one, listen, I'm sure that in our lifetime, as kids and small kids or teenagers, you probably were picked on at some point too. I was picked on, and, it just makes it, even crazier when someone's being picked on and they have special needs. I mean, you're just a downright piece of shit if you're essentially doing that. But, Chris and his mom at the last select board meeting and with a lot of people that live in that community went and spoke up and said that, look, the police chief and the police around here are not really doing much about these kids. And ironically, the night that everybody is there, the police chief wasn't there, was told by one of the town regulators on the select board, like, go to your kid's soccer game or something like that. And, I'll be curious. The next select board is going to be on Tuesday. I want to see if the police chief's going to show up, and we'll do a replay on that on Wednesday night for Wednesday night show. I want to see what the police chief has to say about this, but let's read a little bit here from 7 News. Danvers community rallies around man living with special needs after attack at local park. And again, this has been something that's been going on. So it says a crowd of the North Shore residents gathered in Danvers on Saturday to show their support for Chris Ducky Anderson, a man living with special needs who was a victim of an alleged attack at a local park this past week. Quote, "Rock on, guys. This is my town and my mom's town, and no one's going to ruin us," Anderson said, adding that he's feeling the love after a 15-year-old was arrested in connection with an unprovoked attack, police said occurred in the Danvers Park. The We Stand with Ducky rally drew residents from across the region. Among them were neighbors Danielle Bergman, who said, "I just want to show my support. We love him. He's a great person, and I can't just believe that someone would attack him for no reason. It just doesn't make sense." The attack has sparked a call for change in town, where the residents say out-of-control teens have become a growing issue. The 15-year-old was arrested in connection with the incident, now facing assault charges. Dozens of people lined up at a select board meeting on Tuesday to demand the town take action. Nicole Parsons, who organized the rally, said, "We want to show him that he doesn't have to be scared anymore. He has a lot of friends and a lot of strangers, but a lot of friends, and no one's going to hurt him ever again," she said. So let me play this video here. We can hear a little bit more about Ducky's story
Sunday morning,
once we get past the commercial here. If you guys can just take a second, smash that like button. Hope you're liking the variety show today. Just wanted to switch it all up a little bit. I'm going to be heading out of here in a couple minutes as I got some plans this evening. So okay, I just missed it. Let me go back.
In Danvers. 6, a
Here we
show
go.
of support for a man with special needs in Danvers. A rally held in the town today for Chris Anderson, also known as Ducky. Police say Anderson was attacked last Saturday by a group of teens.
One has now been charged in connection with that attack. 7's Chris Rogers is live in Danvers with the story. Chris.
Well, Danvers police have officially made an arrest in connection to an assault on a local man that's well known in this community. He does have special needs. Today, this entire community got together to rally behind him.
Rock on,
Thanks,
guys.
Doc.
This is my town and my mom's town. And nobody's got to ruin us.
Chris Anderson, known in Danvers as Ducky, feeling the love of his community after reportedly being attacked by a group of kids in a local park last week.
This is not going to be easy for this town. This town, these kids ruined the town.
The We Stand with Ducky rally drew people from all over the North Shore.
I just want to show my support. We love him. He's a great person. I just can't believe that someone would attack him for no reason. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
The attack on Ducky sparked a cry for change in Danvers. His family says they're grateful a 15-year-old has now been arrested in connection with the attack.
Very impressed, but I knew that they were working almost around the clock to get it settled.
Dozens of people lined up at a select board meeting Tuesday, demanding the town take action to crack down on a group of kids they say have been terrorizing the town.
And again, you know, another clueless select board that just gets up there and says, oh, well, we're going to do something about it. We'll take care of it. And you go back and watch that replay if you want on my channel. I just did it a couple of days ago. If you want to watch through that select board. Again, you know, another select board that doesn't like to connect with their community. You know, they always have they always say the right things, all those right things that, you know, the community wants to hear. We're going to take care of it. Don't worry. We're looking into it. But no action ever happens. That's why I urge all of you, look at the people that are running your communities. If they're not working for you, you need to vote them out. Get out there and vote. Don't just get out here and talk on all your social media about how much you hate XYZ. Get out there and vote and get these people out and get people into your communities and on your select boards and planning boards that are actually going to work for you and actually take action when they say that they're going to do things. All right, let's play through this here.
I hope this sends a message that this kind of behavior is not going to be tolerated, and we're going to keep showing up.
As Danvers continues to rally behind one of their own.
We want to show him that he doesn't have to be scared anymore. He has a lot of friends, a lot of strangers, but a lot of friends, and nobody's going to hurt him ever again.
Now, the teenager who was arrested is now facing multiple charges, including 2 counts of assault and battery.
Now, let's
We're live
follow
in
up
Danvers
on
tonight.
it.
Chris Rogers, 7 News.
All right. Little justice in Ducky's case. That's good to see. And Ducky, if you're watching this or if any of the, the community in Danvers is watching this, look, this shouldn't happen. It cannot happen. And, I'll keep an eye on this. But it's nice to see that we're getting some justice for Ducky. And it's great that the community is pulling together for him. From what I heard, I don't know him personally. I know a lot of people have reached out to me since I covered this the other day, and they said the guy's a nice guy. He wouldn't do anything to hurt anybody. The community really loves him up there, and to see this happen, it's a shitty thing. People don't want to get picked on. No, listen, I was picked on as a kid. I'm sure people in this chat have been picked on before. It sucks, but to do that to someone that has special needs, you're a piece of shit, a real piece of shit. All right. Well, let's do one more quick update before I hit the outro button here. So I've been talking about expanding the studio space, and I met with my landlord today here in the building. I'm officially going to be signing a new lease to a larger space. And I went in there today and I got a little bit of video of the space. I'm super excited. It's unique. I think we can make it work. I think it's going to be a lot more fun. It's going to still be fun, but I think it's going to give us a lot more space to be in there and spread out a little bit more, because this room is super tight. And any of you that have been in this room already can concur. It is very small in here, but I think this is really cool. I'm going to play the video now so you get to kind of see what it looks like in there. And this is as you're walking in, and I'll play through this minute and 40. Let me know what you all think. It's unique. I like it.
All right, here we are, the new HQ.
the new HQ. So lots of cool available space. This is the larger room here. And I'm super excited. I can't wait. I think it's going to be really cool in here. You know, definitely an upgrade. Now that door, I may ask if we can just take the door off and just keep it one large open space, which is going to be kind of cool. But let me play through this. From the small room unique. I'm in now. Definitely it's unique. Just a unique little spot. We'll make it work. Moving up, right? Moving up. I'm excited. I think it's going to be cool. So what do you think? Let me know. The window's cool too. Nice big window here out to Route 1, which is awesome. We'll probably get some film on the window just to darken it a little bit. But I'm super excited. It's a new opportunity. Let me know what you think. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Yes, the Ghost Squad approves. Thank you. All right. Up in the world. Got a lot of work to do in here. I do a lot of work. But we're going to get it done and make it happen. It's going to be really great. It's going to be fun. And that's that. So good stuff. I'm excited about it. We'll get the new lease signed here pretty soon. I'll start moving down all my stuff. It won't be so cramped anymore. I think what I'm going to do is in the larger room, the far wall, we're going to get a couch to be in there. We're going to put the big screen TV up on the wall. We'll get a couple of camera positions in there. So when people come in, we can sit and have more of like a relaxed environment. I think in the smaller room, maybe that entry room, you know, I might do like a solo spot in there, kind of like what you're seeing now, and just utilize the two spaces for that. So I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. You know, we'll make it work. We always make it work. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great time. And I think it's nice to get kind of out of this smaller room into a larger space. And I'm actually going to be consulting with one of the gentlemen that actually worked with Jess Machado that has set up several of the studios down where she is, because they actually have the Fall River Reporter actually has a podcast studio, and they've actually been filming in there with Jess like once a week. And the guy that does all the video and audio, his name is Steven. I'm actually going to be consulting with him, have him come up, take a look at the space and work with me to get, you know, everything set up. So I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to work out pretty good. And we'll just see how things work out and what it comes to. So I appreciate it. Again, it would not happen without all of your support. I'm investing back into this channel. You know, the money that I've been making, I want to invest back into this channel to make it bigger and better. And it's the next stepping stone as to what LTL Media is going to be in the LTL studio. And maybe we'll be in there a year and upgrade again. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I think this is it's going to work. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you, because you make the LTL world turn coming out and watching these lives and supporting the channel. So quick variety show today. I want to thank everybody for being in here. Sorry that I kind of zoomed along. I do have some plans here at about 6 o'clock, so I'm going to be taking off. And it was kind of an unscheduled live today, but I had a couple things I wanted to go over, kind of blast them out there, get some ideas on it. And that's that. So this is another edition of Let's Talk Live here on the LTL Media channel. I appreciate you all being here. I will be back on Wednesday night, probably 7 or 8 p.m. And I don't know. We'll have another show here pretty soon. So good to see everybody in the chat. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. And I'll talk to you all soon. Take care. Peace.